The sun was beginning its descent over the quiet town of Brookridge, casting golden light that kissed rooftops and treetops alike. A soft orange and violet hue washed over the sky as families began settling in for the evening. Lawns were being watered, kids raced each other on their bikes, and the gentle bark of neighborhood dogs echoed here and there. Among those out for an early evening walk was 10-year-old Lily Thompson. Her long, dark braids bounced with every step, and her laugh, high-pitched and full of life, carried down the sidewalk. At her side was Duke, her loyal companion. Duke was a towering German shepherd, eyes alert and steady, his movements precise and purposeful even in retirement. He wasn't just any dog. He was a former K-9 officer from the city's elite unit. Lily's father, Officer Ben Thompson, had worked with Duke for nearly 5 years before the brave shepherd was retired due to age. Rather than letting Duke fade away in some distant kennel, Ben had taken him home, introducing him as a member of the family. Since then, Duke had become Lily's best friend, her guardian shadow, and an inseparable part of her daily life. They were halfway through their usual route along Maple Drive when a low rumble interrupted the peace. A group of bikers came tearing down the narrow street, their engines revving unnecessarily loud. They weren't part of any major gang, just a ragtag group of local thrill seekers with too much time and not enough maturity. One of them, a tall, lanky young man named Travis Holt, was known for his reckless stunts and cruel sense of humor. He was always pushing the edge, especially if it meant getting a laugh from his buddies. As they passed Lily and Duke, Travis veered dangerously close to the sidewalk. With a smirk, he stuck out his boot and delivered a sharp kick to Duke's side as he sped by. "Watch your mutt, kid," he yelled over his shoulder, laughing as his friends hooped behind him. That laugh was cut short almost immediately. Duke's training kicked in without hesitation. The moment he was struck, the shepherd let out a deep, guttural growl that stopped nearby pedestrians in their tracks. His leash tore from Lily's hands like a whip, and in the blink of an eye, Duke was in motion. Before Travis could even process what was happening, Duke had caught up. His powerful jaws clamped down on the biker's boot with a snap, yanking it sideways and sending the motorcycle skidding across the pavement with a painful screech. Travis hit the asphalt hard, rolling several feet before groaning in pain. He tried to scramble to his feet, but Duke had already circled around him, ears pinned back, teeth bared, and a low, menacing growl vibrating from his chest. People began to gather. Cell phones were already out. Officer Ben Thompson, who had just stepped out of a corner coffee shop, sprinted toward the scene the moment he recognized Duke's distinctive bark. He let out a sharp whistle and called out, "Duke, stand down." Like a well-programmed machine, Duke immediately stopped his advance and backed off, though his sharp eyes remained locked on the biker, as if daring him to make the wrong move. Ben stepped between the two, looking down at Travis, his jeans torn, his legs scraped and bruised. "You just assaulted a retired K-9 officer," he said firmly, shaking his head. "Not your brightest moment, son." Travis, wide-eyed and shaken, opened his mouth to argue, but the gathering crowd was already chuckling, some even applauding Duke. "That's what you get, jerk," someone yelled from the sidewalk. Lily ran up to Duke and threw her arms around his neck. "Good boy," she whispered, her small hands rubbing his thick fur. Ben gave Travis a cold stare. "You're lucky Duke didn't go for something more serious. Next time, don't mess with a dog you don't know." Travis muttered a half-hearted apology as he limped to his bike, his biker buddies backing away from the scene in silent agreement. Some had even turned off their engines, clearly embarrassed by their friend's idiocy. As Duke walked home beside Lily, tail wagging gently, he looked every bit the hero. The crowd slowly dispersed, some still shaking their heads, others uploading their freshly recorded videos. Travis turned once to look back at Officer Thompson, then at Lily and Duke. Her expression was firm, half fear, half bold defiance. That damn mutt, he thought bitterly. It was just a joke. Ben's voice interrupted his thoughts. A joke? Kicking a service animal isn't a joke, Travis. It's criminal. Travis scoffed, still holding his scraped leg. He's not a cop anymore. He's just a pet now. Ben's eyes narrowed. Before he could say anything else, another voice rang out from the side of the crowd. Not so fast. Sergeant Carlos Mendez emerged from the group, his police badge glinting in the fading sunlight. As head of the Brook Ridge K-9 unit, Mendez had seen the whole incident from his parked cruiser down the block. You just assaulted a trained service dog, Mendez said flatly, joining Ben's side. Even in retirement, Duke is protected under the law. And from what I just saw, we might be talking about reckless endangerment, too. Travis blinked. Wait, what? Are you serious? Oh, I'm very serious, Mendez said, pulling out a small notepad. In some states, harming a K-9 officer is a felony. You're lucky the dog's okay, or we'd be having a very different conversation. Travis shifted uncomfortably as people continued to record. Ben crossed his arms. Well, anything to say? Travis rubbed the back of his neck and finally turned toward Lily. Look, kid, I'm sorry, all right? I shouldn't have done that. I didn't mean to hurt your dog. Lily looked him up and down, her lips pressed in a thin line. Then she gave a short nod, but didn't say a word. Duke, however, growled low again, clearly still unimpressed. Ben sighed. Apologizing is a start, but respect, real respect, needs to be learned. Carlos. Mendez smiled faintly. I've got an idea. He turned to Travis. You've got two choices. Spend a month volunteering at the Brook Ridge Animal Shelter or deal with a formal charge in court. Your call. Travis grimaced. Are you kidding me? No. Lily finally spoke. Maybe then you'll learn how to treat animals better. Travis sighed, shoulders slumping. Fine. Whatever. Ben leaned down and gave Duke a pat. Good job, partner. Duke gave a little bark in response, his tail wagging slightly. As the last of the onlookers faded and the bikes roared away in the distance, Lily knelt next to Duke and hugged him tight. You're the best dog ever, she whispered. And Duke, with eyes that had seen so much over the years, gently licked her cheek. Justice had been served. For the first few days, Travis Holt showed up at the Brook Ridge Animal Shelter like someone trudging into a prison sentence. He wore the same beat-up hoodie and scuffed boots, dragging his feet with every step. His shift started at 3 p.m. sharp, and by 3:01, he was already checking the clock. Mopping floors, scrubbing kennels, refilling food and water bowls. It was thankless, smelly work. The staff, especially Sarah Lindell, the no-nonsense manager of the shelter, didn't go easy on him. She had seen too many volunteers who thought they could slack their way through a court-mandated sentence. But she was also sharp enough to sense that this one, the lanky biker kid with a bruised ego, wasn't just rebellious. He was also wounded in ways that didn't show. Don't forget Kennel 6, Sarah called from the front desk one day. Yeah, Travis muttered, grabbing the mop bucket. Kennel 6 belonged to Max. Max was nothing like Duke. He wasn't well-groomed or confident. He wasn't trained or trusting. Max was a scrappy-looking German shepherd mix, with scars on both ears and one cloudy eye. He didn't bark or wag his tail when people passed. He watched them, silently, suspiciously. Travis had seen plenty of tough dogs before, but something about Max's stare unnerved him. It wasn't fear or aggression. It was like the dog had already made up his mind that people weren't worth his trust. Max has been here 6 months now, Sarah said one afternoon, not realizing Travis was within earshot. She was speaking to a young volunteer, a college student named Alyssa. We've tried everything, Sarah continued, her voice low. But no one wants him. He's not aggressive, just closed off. If we don't find a home for him soon. Alyssa's voice dropped. Euthanasia? Sarah sighed. I don't want to, but we're running out of space. And time. Travis paused mid-mop, the words echoing in his mind. Tough decision. He glanced over at Max, who lay curled in the corner of his kennel, eyes open but unmoving. That night, Travis couldn't sleep. He stared at the ceiling of his room, lit only by the dull glow of a street lamp outside. His legs still ached from where Duke had knocked him down, and his pride hadn't fully recovered either. But it wasn't Duke that haunted his thoughts. It was Max, a dog nobody wanted, a dog that didn't wag his tail, a dog waiting to disappear. The next day, Travis showed up to the shelter 10 minutes early. Instead of diving into chores, he pulled a folding chair and set it just outside Kennel 6. He didn't say anything. He didn't reach out. He just sat there, elbows resting on his knees, occasionally glancing over. Max didn't move. Not an inch. But his eye never left Travis. Travis came back the next day. Same chair, same spot. Still silent. Still watching. On the fourth day, something changed. Travis had been sitting quietly, lost in thought, when he felt a soft nudge on his arm. He looked down, startled. Max was standing beside him, cautious but curious. The dog sniffed at his jacket, then pulled away slightly. His tail gave a single, uncertain wag. Travis couldn't help but smile. Well, hey there, buddy. From that moment on, everything shifted. Travis started showing up early. He stayed late. He asked Sarah questions, real ones, about training techniques, canine behavior, and diet. He cleaned without complaining. He walked Max around the shelter courtyard. They played tug-of-war with an old rope toy. He even brought in peanut butter biscuits from a local pet shop. One morning, while Max dozed on a blanket in the corner of the outdoor enclosure, Sarah approached Travis. You know, she said softly, I've never seen Max open up to anyone like that. Not even staff. Especially not men. Travis looked up, caught off guard. Really? Sarah nodded. You got a gift, whether you realize it or not. He stared at Max for a long moment. The dog was snoring gently, one paw twitching as if chasing something in his dreams. I don't know what it is, Travis said, but he gets me. Have you thought about adopting him? She asked. Travis blinked. The idea had never crossed his mind. Him? A dog owner? Just weeks ago, he'd mocked a retired canine. Now, here he was thinking about dog bowls and chew toys. I don't know, he replied honestly. But over the next few days, the idea grew. It took root. He started imagining Max sleeping at the foot of his bed, riding in the back seat of his truck, greeting him at the door after work. A week later, Travis signed the adoption papers. When Lily and Officer Ben Thompson found out, they were surprised and impressed. You adopted a dog? Lily asked, wide-eyed, when they ran into him outside the shelter one afternoon. Travis rubbed the back of his neck. Yeah, turns out, dogs aren't so bad after all. Ben raised an eyebrow. Coming from the guy who kicked a K9 a month ago, that's quite the turnaround. Travis chuckled, glancing down at Max, who now sat calmly at his side, leash in hand. I guess I had a lot to learn. Lily grinned. Duke's gonna be happy. He's got a new friend now. Max gave a soft bark, as if in agreement. As Travis walked away, Max trotting confidently beside him, something stirred inside him. Something he hadn't felt in a long time. Pride, purpose, a sense of redemption. He had started this journey as the guy who kicked a dog. Now, he was the guy who saved one.